Backdoors, infinitely stretched hallways, always carries a sense of foreboding and unease. The term backdoors are often portrayed as gateways to unknown horrors, leading unsuspecting individuals into realms of darkness and dread. Now, let me share with you an eerie experience recounted by a random person named Alex. In his own words, Alex will recount a chilling encounter he faced while working at a mall and trying to leave the basement parking area one fateful night. Hi, I'm Alex. Just your regular guy working at a mall, trying to make a living. I remember this one night like it was yesterday. It was after my shift ended, and I headed towards the basement parking lot to get my car and head home. As I descended the stairs, the dimly lit concrete walls seemed to close in around me, casting strange shadows that danced ominously in the faint glow of the flickering lights. I quickened my pace, eager to reach the familiar safety of my vehicle. But as I ventured deeper into the labyrinth of parked cars, something felt off. Rows upon rows of vehicles stretched out endlessly before me, the spaces between them seeming to elongate with each step I took. Confusion gnawed at the edges of my mind as I frantically searched for my car, the echoes of my footsteps reverberating through the empty expanse. Panic began to coil itself around my chest, as I realized the parking lot appeared to have extended for miles, with no visible exit in sight. I froze, the ominous atmosphere constricting around me tighter than a vice. The initial glimpse of the malevolent presence nearly paralyzed me, a pitch-dark, crippled hand with unnaturally long fingers grasping the edge of a concrete column. My pulse thundered in my ears, a stark contrast to the deathly silence that had settled over the parking lot. Emerging from the shadows, the figure became clearer, its movements accompanied by the grotesque symphony of scuttling, bone-cracking sounds. Each step it took towards me was calculated, its disgusted grunts slicing through the thick air, amplifying my terror. This wasn't just a figure, it was a nightmare incarnate, its very essence dripping with an unfathomable darkness. The dim lighting did little to reveal its form in full, but the glimpses I caught were enough to etch themselves into my memory. Its body appeared twisted and malformed, as if suffering from years of neglect and torture, yet it moved with a purpose and agility that belied its crippled appearance. Shrouded in tattered remnants of what might once have been clothes, the figure seemed to be both less and more than human. I wanted to run, to scream, but my legs wouldn't obey, and my voice was trapped within my throat. The figure halted mere feet away from me, and we stood there, locked in a silent confrontation. I could see now that its eyes, or where its eyes should have been, were nothing but hollow pits of darkness, yet I felt its gaze bore into me, reading my very soul. The silence stretched between us, a tangible entity, until it spoke. Its voice a guttural whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Lost, are you?" it rasped, each word a needle pricking my skin. Its breath was a fetid breeze that carried the scent of decay, and I fought the urge to gag. I found my voice, though it was barely a whisper. I just want to find my car." My words felt foolish, trivial, in the face of this abomination. It tilted its head, an oddly human gesture that felt all the more disturbing given its form. "Many are lost, few are found," it murmured, taking a step back into the shadows. "What are you willing to sacrifice to find your way?" I tried to flee, my heart hammering in my chest, but an invisible force held me in place, rooted to the spot as if bound by unseen chains. Desperation clawed at my throat as I struggled against the unseen barrier, each futile attempt only serving to heighten my terror. The figure drew closer, its featureless face twisted into a nightmarish grin that filled me with a primal dread. I could feel its gaze boring into my soul, stripping away layers of defense until I stood exposed and vulnerable, a mere pawn in its twisted game. And then, as abruptly as it had appeared, the figure vanished into the shadows, leaving behind an oppressive silence that echoed through the empty parking lot. Trembling with fear, I stumbled towards the nearest staircase, desperate to escape the suffocating darkness that threatened to consume me whole. As I ascended the stairs and emerged into the relative safety of the mall, a sense of profound relief washed over me, tinged with a lingering sense of unease. The events of that night haunted me long after, a chilling reminder of the malevolent forces that lurk in the shadows, waiting to ensnare unwary souls in their sinister web. That night, as I drove home in shaken silence, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me, its presence lingering just beyond the edge of my perception, a lurking specter waiting to reclaim what was rightfully its own. Hence, I urge you to heed my tale as a warning. Beware the darkness that lurks in the most innocuous of places, for it is there that true terror lies, hidden beneath the veneer of everyday life, waiting to ensnare those foolish enough to venture into its depths.